Hello, everyone. So we'll dive into the panel. The panel is about gamification and commodification, like how are, for instance, dating apps playing with us, or how do they sort us as people, but maybe also how can we play with them a bit more, like the both ways. I just thought of this. What kind of agency can we give to users in order to handle the system? I think it would be good to end on this, but first start more discussing how dating apps look like, and also how people are commodified on dating apps and what the kind of impact that has on people. But before we do that, I would love to introduce everyone briefly. Some people already were on stage today, but not everyone, I think. But maybe we can start all the way on the right. Jessica, can you tell us who you are?
Yes, thank you. I'm Jessica Pidoux. I'm a sociologist, researcher at the University of Neuchâtel in Switzerland, and I'm also director of the NGO Personal Data IO.
Hello, my name is Laurie Dutheil. I'm a dating coach. I've been working also with Jessica on some subjects, and I'm also creative in a dating TV show also, and I'm hosting some creative dating events when you go on stage to pitch your single friends with a PowerPoint presentation. So it's kind of a wide range.
And Leon, I think everyone just saw you.
Well, hello again.
So maybe no need to introduce
maybe
yourself.
no need. But I'm here mostly as a game designer, I think. So I'll give the game design perspective, I guess.
Maybe Jessica, if I may start with you. You already discussed some. Already discussed some of these things in your presentation, but I think not all of them. So maybe can you start by explaining when someone goes to a dating app and wants to start a profile, what kind of factors are relevant for a person to take into account in making their profile?
Yeah, and first of all, I'm not an expert on design at all, but I analyzed interfaces from a sociological perspective. So what I can say about it is that the way you introduce yourself to others and to the algorithmic systems also that are going to match you, it's in a written way. And you have to write your profile. You have to declare who you are. And these are always categories that are predefined by the app before. So they ask your name and your age, but also body shape, hair color, and every question has always predefined values. So I analyzed more that on the graphical interface, how profiles are created within design of the app. So these profiles are often very reductive of our bodies, our diversity. They often reproduce social norms according to heterosexual relationship models. And the women especially, it's mainly described by the upper body. And I found this interesting because we believe sometimes the design of apps are only now based on pictures and on swiping. But actually now if you go on Tinder, now you find so many questions that are asked. And you have the passions and a big list of passions. Bumble is based a lot on these categories. What do you like? Where do you go out? Are you more? Do you prefer to rest or to go out at night? And these are categories. These are values, data that are feeding the systems. And just to conclude here, it's actually telling a story. It's a narrative. It's in a written format that you express yourself to others, and on the other side of the machine is a more numerical story, because these categories are then coded in often binary ways. 0 doesn't like this, 1 likes this.
Yeah. And maybe, Laurie, you also give people advice, right, who go on a date? Do you also give advice on how they can create a dating app profile?
Yeah, actually that's how I started. It was more helping them to craft the more powerful or performant profiles. So that's questionable in a way. But yeah, for sure, it was to help them to understand and describe themselves in the best way that looked like themselves, at the same time that is attractive. So that's how I got in touch with Jessica, because I didn't want it to put too much intuition in it, and I wanted to have like proper research to put on that.
But I think you know better because she has a both sides of the humans, of the users that we don't have.
From what I understood, that like from the user perspective, like just to have to add so many prompts, so many new features about yourself and about the person that you're looking for, it's adding too much pressure, too many info too many data that you would be willing to analyze and it's pretty much too much, creating too much fantasy also, and also creating a bit of, in a mental health situation, it's a bit more, it's questionable in that way, because it's creating so many stuff that you have to put out there. Like each week, it's a new criteria, like astrological point of view, like your MBTI, or like already new criteria to ask, you have to deliver, and also you try to compare and to analyze and to figure out what could be like the best partner for you. So it's quite intense. The mental charge is very, very intense. Emotional charge also.
How do you help to balance? I assume for some people it might be a bit of a balancing act, because maybe how they accurately describe themselves might not be something that does well on a dating app. How do you help people navigating that?
It's part of a self-trust and storytelling also, like the personal branding part of yourself. So it's hard to help them have the personal confidence that you can show whatever you want to show, you can be truly yourself, and you can also play with the rules of what's needed, like playing with the photo, playing with the prompts, playing with the quotes, and still be you. Mm-hmm. And to have like what I offer like an advice, like to stay grounded in what you want and to be very open heart. So it's quite hard to navigate and have both this attitude, but you have to be very grounded in who you are, trust in yourself and trust in your guts and your heart, and to be open to the encounter, digital and in real life afterwards.
And Jessica, maybe you can talk about this a little bit more, because there are certain factors that are more highly valued within the dating app space, depending on what dating app it is. Can you explain how dating apps decide where to put value on and how that looks like?
Yeah, I think this is something to keep in mind. When you register on an app, you are already starting a dating experience that is shaped by them. It's like if you go on Tinder, it's tailored for students, young population. And if you go to Parship, Mythic is for older people that want supposedly a long-term relationship. And these are goals that they fixed already by the structure of the app and the questions they ask you. And if you go, for example, to Parship, they ask your salary. So it means that the earnings are important to establish a relationship. So I think this is important to have in mind, like how do you describe yourself according to the structure of the app is going to shape also what kind of dates you're going to have. Of course, it's not all set on stone by the apps. As Laurie is saying, we managed to shape, to ignore some things, to play with it in new ways that the designers and developers didn't even think about it. And these are the own conventions that users are creating where they're in the ground, they're playing. It's like, oh, I use these emojis that are used in my culture, in my group. If you get it, then it's cool. I have a nice date.
Leon, so users often go to dating apps because they want to find someone or they want to have fun. They can have a bunch of different incentives to initially start going on these dating apps. At the same time, the dating apps themselves can sometimes have very different incentives of why they want users on their app. For instance, they might have an incentive to make sure that the user is on the app as long as possible, because then they can maybe collect more data on the user. And I assume that they have ways to keep people on there. And I thought maybe you can tell a little bit more about that.
Well, I mean, of course, it makes sense. Like, they're businesses in the end. So, of course, you want your business to keep running. This is, I mean, also true if you're like purely good, well-intended. If you really believe in your app as the perfect matchmaker, then, of course, you want to keep it running and to get as many people involved in it as possible. There are, what I would say, well, what we call dark patterns involved in dating apps. So dark patterns are ways of designing user experiences or interfaces that trigger unconscious decision making. So things you can't really, are like instant responses, or things you don't really, or are very hard to be like aware of while you're doing them. And as I think that the clearest example is the infinite amount of profiles you go through and never stopping you in this. So this is also a dark pattern that, for instance, Instagram uses, or Twitter uses, or X, it's called X now. And what this does is that, you always sort of find that there's always hope for a better, more perfect profile that you will find in this huge pile. So this is, in fact, the same principle as is used in gambling machines. So gambling machines, they keep you longer on their machine if it's actually better to just have one time like a very positive reward, and then have some negative rewards, and then again a positive reward. Whereas if you would get only positive rewards, which would be better for the person, they would lose interest. So this is also what you see happening, and is, I think, proved to happen at some dating platforms, that they on purpose give you like profiles that don't really match, so you are more invested in finding profiles, or like that one golden profile that's like perfect, amazing. On the other hand, you can also see this as a more positive thing, because this means that even though you are scrolling through all of these profiles that don't really match you, you do sort of find out what you like and what you don't like. So it becomes more clear for you. So, I mean, all of these patterns, they're like very much a gray area, I would say. They have positive effects, they have negative effects. Even staying on a dating app longer maybe is a positive effect if that means that the perfect match that you actually, I don't know, spend your life with, it has yet to come. So
so this is linked to, I interviewed the users, and they say, I have the impression that when I have 1 week without using the app and I come back and I open it, first profiles I see, they're super hot, and then it's just like nobody I really like. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for the company to do this, right? I mean, as I said, it makes sense maybe also for sort of if you have a good intentions for the user, because you want them to find a match, so you want them to be on the app, otherwise they can't get a match. But yeah, of course, this is all taken into account. I mean, why not? I mean, there are so many people optimizing these apps. I mean, they have the resources to spend on this to optimize this as well.
At least what I found using the app in the beginning is that every time I would open the app, if there was some time, like a day or something in between times that I used it, and I would start swiping, then almost always, like after the fourth, I would have a couple of matches, and then at some point, if I swipe for very long, I would have no matches anymore. So I felt, and at some point I thought, this is how it works. So you kind of only need to swipe like maybe 20 people, and then you have your dose for the day.
So you are gaming the system. That's great.
But I'm not sure, but this is my experience.
By A/B testing, somebody, okay, this is the rules, I can just do that and have another strategy. And
yeah. I mean, I think what is a good thought exercise is if you look at the data that you're putting in, so you know what type of data they have, right? You can sort of figure this out or calculate this backwards from just using the app. How would you use this data if your incentives are getting people on this app and finding matches? So another data point that's maybe interesting to highlight is that if like the matches are one-sided at first, so you know if another person is already sort of into a profile. So what you can also do is, this person is maybe almost never on the app. I want them to get back on the app. Let's give them in the first 20 profiles already profiles that have matched them. So if they actually like someone there, there's a higher chance that it's an actual match. So it doesn't feel pointless to this person. This is maybe like a little bit more of a data point that you wouldn't on first glance think about, but it is something that you can use as a designer. And like this, there's like many more, I would say. Yeah.
You said something in the beginning that I thought is interesting. Indeed, like dating apps give us this feeling that there are infinite of people out there for us, waiting for us, even though in reality this might not be the case. And Laurie, I was wondering, how do you deal with this feeling that I think dating apps gives many people, that there's always something better out there? At the same time, it's also very difficult to find that something better.
I would say that I've been witnessing this kind of effect like 5 years ago, but right now it's like the gratification of a like or a match, or like the endless dating and all that's kind of as if it has been creating a bit of a burnout. I would say that, so I have like people that I can be coaching and they're like, I don't know what I feel like there is nobody, I feel like everybody, I don't know what I feel like, I go to a date and I don't feel present, I don't know if I like someone, it's very hard. So to me it's like we have been reaching another stage of like, it's not about FOMO anymore, it's about like feeling completely lost. Not trying to be too pessimistic, but it's how I feel about the people that I'm trying to help on every day.
And maybe in more general, how do you think dating apps have influenced dating culture?
I would say that it has been influencing, like the idea of opportunity also, but the idea of I would focus more on the dating rules. It's like, to me, dating app has been shifting, and you can interfere also, but shifting like a bit of a jungle rules, a bit of I will do that, but I don't know how the other do that. So it's a bit like in the last 10 years, they have so many rules, but like external, like more of jungle rules, but nothing really. To me, I would love it to be more regulated and to have more, how to say that, better guidelines of conduct. So to me, it has inflicted, everybody is acting according to some rules, but that has been generating like automatically from outside, from experience, and nobody has really been taking the time to acknowledge them, to digest them, and to create proper guidelines that will help us date in not a self-care bubble, but in a way, so with less violence, like micro-violence. I don't know if it's answering your question.
The thing is, I think it's a super important point. When we are creating apps in a very easy way. You can, in the sense that you can, if you have some technical skills, you can develop your app and launch it immediately on the Apple stores or on the Play stores. And this gives the opportunity to expose your app to anyone, so they play with it. And it's an arena to test whatever you want. And so it makes sense that there are no rules, because these apps come there with their own designs, profiles, variables, and so that we don't understand. And we try to understand that by doing it. And it is very much based on, let's make mistakes and see how it happens, and we learn together. Of course, this is how we create conventions, norms in society, and often passes implicitly. We don't say, this is how we behave here. You sit here, you listen to us, and we have learned, right? We went to school, to university, to any other concert place that they have also shared, somebody speaking, singing. So now I understand that it can be problematic that, okay, we are with these tools there, let's test them. Nobody's saying what are the safe guidelines, because it is a place where we can harm each other. People are exposed to harassment, no moderation of the messages by the owners of the app, no security, privacy, verifications of your identity or whatever. So it is a risky place and it is an experimental place, and I think definitely we haven't gotten the time to say, okay, this is how we want the dating apps to work.
In the also like the people I could be coaching sometimes, it's like they are suffering from this micro-violence all around them, and sometimes they also can be behaving in some questionable way, not without knowing it, without like the will to harm in any way. But it's, yeah, there is this mirror game, so I have been inflicted that, and I can be ghosting a bit and it's okay, or I can be thinking about like 10 people at the same time, or multi-dating, it's okay. So it's like, yeah, and also the way you're saying it, everybody has his own agenda. Coming to a dating app, it could be an ego boost, it could be meeting a new friend, it could be forgetting about an ex, it could be finding your husband or just a one-night stand, and the agenda of everybody is not really easy to understand.
And it's evolving all the time. So how do you make this connection? We find the people that in the same time, like us, is looking for this.
Yeah, but what I think is interesting also to think about is the way you are interacting with other people on these platforms. It's like very much guided and very limited, I would say. Like it's mostly text-based, I think, correct me if I'm wrong. But if you don't give like other options for this, I mean, you can design other options for this. It's not impossible. And also, if you, for example, look at Breeze, you don't even get the chat apps and you go instantly on a date. Where maybe on a date, you're actually talking face-to-face with someone. You actually see this person as another person, not just a way to satisfy your needs. And you know that they also have maybe feelings. So it becomes maybe... like the way you are communicating there, it's a lot more similar to how we communicate all the time to a lot of people. We maybe are more trained in what we can do. Of course, there's always going to be people that try to be bad actors, but maybe this is also a way to more easily find out if they are, because we're also trained to do that in real spaces. On the other hand, what I think is also interesting is that there are strategies now that are employed, not set by the rules of the app, but just by using them. And one of the strategies that I find very interesting is the like finding of all the Instagram profiles and all of the digital footprint of this person you matched with instantly. For instance, I mean, it's a really good practice to just Google the name, see if this person is actually like real, and maybe reverse Google image search some of the images. But this also then asks the question, okay, how much am I still in charge of what information I decide to share about myself? So if you Google me and extensively Google me beforehand, maybe I was in some random band 10 years ago that I really want people to forget about, but this is on the internet. So I don't get to dictate anymore how I introduce myself to someone or how I present myself if people do this beforehand. But it all comes from like, you know, a good place. But I think it has like interesting consequences to think about, yeah.
Yeah, people can always find new ways of using dating apps also outside of the way the developers have intended, which I think is also a really fun area to think about. I have one friend who's also a data protection lawyer, but it's irrelevant. But and she's from Colombia, and she's like the most social person I've ever met in my life, and she has crafted this entire like 20 people group in The Hague, friend group, and she has a boyfriend now, but also most of these people are people that she met through Tinder. So whenever I'm there, it's always like, how do you know Maria? And people are always like, because of Tinder. But it's also because she's extremely social, so sometimes she also meets people in the street when she puts out her garbage. But I think that's also like the apps are in a way like they gamify the way they design the apps to a certain degree. Some, like you say, for good things, like to make the user experience somewhat friendly, but sometimes also for other motives. But as a user yourself, you can also decide to use a dating app to find someone who can walk your dog, or like for way other motives than maybe the dating apps think that they have designed this thing.
Yes, definitely. Just as when you go on LinkedIn, you can have like a DM of someone trying to explore emotional synergy with you, and what's the point? But yeah, definitely you can play with it, and you can forge some relationships that are long-lasting and not only romantic. So that's a very nice tool in a way.
I heard you said this over lunch, and I really want to learn more about it, because dating apps also, I think, give us some sort of inspiration to think about, okay, how can we connect people also maybe offline in new ways? And you have created a way that, at least I just heard it like 2 seconds, but to me, it did remind me a bit of dating apps. And also on dating apps, I also talked to people who said that their friends made their profile for them. And I think, can you tell us a little bit more about what you did?
To me, it was really important to create a live event where it's based on a gamification in a way. As I've been working as a creative in TV, I know what a good format is helping to think of something else and to be more focused on the game, and also not being so stressed about the outcome. So for sure, so it's a live speed dating in a way, when you come on stage to pitch your single friend with a PowerPoint presentation, and as you say, when someone is pitched by a friend, you're not good as you're not good self-seller, a good seller of yourself. It's never helping. So to have a friend declaring his love or her love for you, it's already like a nice gift, a bit of hype, as you were saying. And at the same time, it's a good way to show like a real-life human, not in pixel, like a real-life human, and that is told through the lens of friendship, but also like the big achievement, and also the small thing that makes us like, or maybe a small weakness or default. And it's really, really a nice way to be bringing back a human in that.
Yeah, I really love it. Also because I think one thing that dating apps could improve on, if they would like develop their apps a little bit more, is the fact that usually when we meet someone and when we like build a relationship with someone, it's not just an one-to-one person thing. Like, it's a process that usually has a lot of context. You might meet their friends at some point, or family relations can be really important in these kind of choices. And these more social relation elements are very invisible now in the current, at least most dating apps that I've seen so far. And I think this is super interesting and could also be like inspiration again for design elements for dating apps. So yeah, super
Great,
interesting.
thank you.
So I think dating apps both have, like, we talk about it all the time, like they have positive aspects that they can bring, but they also have some negative aspects. Jessica, maybe can you explain a little bit about in what kind of surroundings dating apps need to work? I'm not doing this question very well. I mean,
I see what they could improve, or what do you?
No, no. I mean that the way how they are developed is tied also to the kinds of business models that they are choosing to have, and I think these are tied to the design features that they choose to have. And I wonder if you can tell us a little bit more about the dating apps in the wider space of the mostly business model, advertisement model that they are having right now.
Yeah, exactly. I think if we see dating apps as business companies, where investors are usually coming to fund something, a new innovation, technological innovation, it says something about the structure of it. And dating apps emerge as a new place where you can collect data that is from intimate sexuality type that actually fits the data economy. So these apps are creating brand agglomerations. You have the match group, the meet group, and they're in the stock exchange. So the design of the apps, I interview developers, what the futures that they were creating depends a lot on what the business is dictating. We want this future for women. Sometimes for women we want, because we know there are less women than men, we want to protect women of too many messages, overloading. We want to regulate this. We want to change the price for younger people. Older people can pay more, so we make them pay more. So it's a business, and one of the aspects of this business is that they trade in data, they exchange it, but they may also sell it or give it for advertisement purposes. And it is a larger phenomenon, so dating apps are not excluded from this. Now, all the free tools that we have, or even the paid ones, our data creates a value for the business beyond the subscribers that they have. So on Tinder we see ads. I mean, young women can have vibes ads, men Gillette ads. So dating apps are part of this, and I think it creates something new that now in our sexual lives we also have to deal with this economy, with how we are making ourselves vulnerable because we are giving this type of data to other companies for the sake of finding a date. We have to deal with ads when we just want to date. We have to deal with harassment because the content is not moderated while we are dating, right? And this is much more risky, unsecure than when we are dating offline, definitely.
Yeah, one thing I looked at when I was creating Clickety Click, which focuses a lot on this question of personal data, is how I found also this dance around the phone number then so interesting, because on the beforehand you give so much of your personal data away just for the promise of we will find you a match, this is what we will use it for, this is what the dating apps usually say. And then this one little piece of personal data, which is your phone number, is then sort of the commodity that you're trying to get afterwards, even though you can find already so much out about the person from just photos, from what they like, from their, I don't know, their height, their sexual preference, everything you put in the profile. And on the other hand, I think it's always, apart from this data economy thing, good to look at the sort of more direct business models of the dating apps. So, I mean, if you look, for instance, on Tinder on the App Store, they have already in their like selling talk, they have like the 3 premium subscription models and what you actually get. And you see this subscription model a lot on a lot of dating apps. And if you look again from a game point of view, all they do is they give you like extra resources, or they give you the resources that are first limited. So for instance, the super like, you can go do more super like if you pay for it. And you can also ask yourself, like, why are there not really a lot of platforms that just say, okay, give me, I don't know, let's say 500 euros beforehand, and we'll make sure we will use this to find the one perfect person.
That's matrimonial agencies, actually, in a way.
And it's not free egalitarian rules. It's very well coded into a discriminatory gender social class model. When they say if you pay a premium feature, you can hide your geolocation, then it means that those that do not pay are more vulnerable because they are the ones showing their geolocation for others to find them. The ones that paid can get the matches immediately. So it means that the people that pay, it's only selecting who they want. But the ones that don't pay are just eliminating profiles all the day, trying with the hope of a match. It's really unequal. It's really unfair from the economic point of view.
It's like buying a cheat code or something like that, in a way. Trying to relate. You see?
No, for sure. But it's also, I mean, if you look at a dating process, or like, this is just from my own experience of being in a relationship for a very long time, but like, for me is very important is the amount of information you have over each other. Like, information is all the power you have, and if it's not equal, then it becomes suddenly like super weird. So for instance, also with this example, for if I was in a band 10 years ago and suddenly you know this, then it becomes a lot harder to trust this other person. And through these subscription models, you gain this like information advantage. So I could, for instance, see a date happening where you don't know the other person is paying, and then they only you find out they only select you because they knew this thing that you don't know about them. Becomes like super strange, and like a trust issue, like very much.
Yeah, I think the information asymmetry between the user and the apps, but also between different kinds of user, depending on what kind of subscription model they have, is very interesting, because it's very invincible if you're not on the right side of the asymmetry. But if you're on the other side, it gives you an advantage, but also not, because I think it also does what you say. At least I experienced this myself, that I realized with some people that I would like them, and immediately, like 5 seconds later, suddenly I would have a match, meaning that they saw that I liked them, and then they decided, oh, yeah, I do like her, because they have a subscription where they can see everyone. And I realized sometimes that was happening, and I didn't like it at all. So the advantage can also kind of become a disadvantage, I think, because you're kind of basically afraid of rejection. That's what I learned from it.
It's interesting, the notion of power play, because you have it also, the dissymmetry of someone who is texting more, asking for more, offering more, is suffering from the weakness of the answer, of the response. And at the same time, the way you have been interpreting the fact that maybe he has been subscribing to a specific offer, we were talking about that, like everything is based on the projection of our own ideas, values, and patterns, and our behaviors. So I would do that, so probably he's doing that, and most of the time it's not at all the same way. The other people on the other end of the screen is not thinking the same way, loving the same way, so it's very hard to be matching the projection that we are,
Yeah, exactly. It's a machine of creating assumptions, stories that you tell yourself in your head. And that's what can be very risky, that you will never match these expectations or ideas you had in your head.
Yeah, I wonder, have you, with your clients, discussed like the subscription models, and have you an insight in how they change people in terms of how they approach dating?
You mean subscription to paying?
Within the dating app. Like for instance,
I don't have specific answer. I don't judge to have one or to subscribe to not. But I could feel like the empowerment feeling about I'm saving time. I'm on the top of my game, and you could feel that this kind of powerful thing. You feel like you're rich. You feel like you're part of an elite in a way, and they're playing with that. To me.
And do you know if is there research done about also like the different way of when you're selecting and when you're removing, like the different way you act within an app, depending on whether you're a free user or a paid user?
Well, there's something I want to switch. There's another criteria we have discussed about it. Is people that are attractive according to the norm, they don't ask themselves these questions. They're always getting matches. It works and doesn't matter. Others that are outside the norm, they are struggling more, looking for practices. They paid. They say, I don't want to waste time, and so on. So I think that's a big difference.
And from some interviews as I have been doing too, there is this idea, like maybe French, but probably European too, about like romantic love and serendipity, and I shouldn't be paying for love. And like normal attractive people say, I want to find someone organically, I don't want to be paying for that. It's €5 or 500 euros, same thing. And other people are like, I'm so determined I have to give it a go, and I will give my best shot. And so it's different point of view depending on where you sit on this conventional attractive.
Which
Like-
is part of the system. Like they are creating these hierarchies between who is attractive and who is not attractive, who is getting a lot of likes and who is not getting a lot of likes, and then it's the matches, who is getting a lot of matches, and then who is getting a lot of messages and not. So that's why also they're creating this business model where they can give you more or less because they have already prepared the whole arena of competition now there, right?
Yeah, it feels a bit like a game in that sense also where you can beat the best
exactly
in that sense, yeah. And I was also thinking also with the paid subscription models, but in general the dating apps also in the way they market themselves, if you look at the marketing language, they sometimes are very confident about what they can achieve. Like they can promise love, finding love. Bumble, although I quite like Bumble, but they in their way of marketing, they promise a lot. Like they constantly market with successful couples who met on Bumble, and they provide themselves as this tool, this instrumental tool that gives you control over finding true love. And I think this idea of paying for, and I think it really fits with this idea also of paying for this, that you can just buy finding true love through this technological mediation. Although I guess in practice it's a bit harder most of the time. Yeah.
Definitely the marketing and the communication campaigns is mostly based on romantic storytelling or like more like the fairy tale point of view, and at the same time it's it's selling that, it's selling this kind of idea, this kind of feeling, so you're in the good mood, but right after that there is this there is a tool, there is a matrix, and there are all that.
But is it also not strange that like all of the marketing material really focuses on, wow, we got a great relationship, but then the actual product, it doesn't facilitate the relationship, it facilitates only the first meeting or the first couple of weeks meeting, whereas in a relationship, I mean, you have to like grow with each other, you have to like
They don't have any measures of this relationship. They don't know whatever is happening after you get out of the app to sell these ideas.
Because I think like a lot of the dating apps, they only really focus on like the initial first match, and you have to they sell this idea that you have to find first the perfect person, and then only you can, if it's worth your time to give it a shot. While you can, I mean, if you're in a really long relationship, you change over time. You become maybe a better version of yourself, or for sure a different version of yourself, and the other person does so too.
You can ask yourself, so did Tinder really create a marriage or a wedding or a lasting marriage, I would say? No, it's depending on, it's enabling maybe the connection, the first connection, but afterwards everything is on you and your ability to be a good partner. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, completely. I think it's also interesting that they are building a lot on very common conceptions of romantic love that we see in movies on the one hand, but on the other hand they're also trying to promise this sense of control, which I don't think matches completely with the other story, but somehow they are able of kind of connecting these two.
I would never have been connect application with control, so do you have the same feeling?
Yeah, exactly. I never talk about it. It's a good concept to talk about it. You take control of your dating experience, you decide what is the criteria you like, what you don't like, you will not see these people, you only talk, you can ban them, you can delete them after if you don't like. It's so for me then it's a fake idea of empowerment, because at the end, no, you don't have control over the algorithms or the decisions of others, and I think we have to think more relationships, it's based on reciprocity than in this asymmetry that we have created on dating apps.
And to me, that's part of what leads to this burnout I've been talking about earlier, that we were feeling that maybe we were in control and then we knew what we were doing, and actually we felt completely helpless. And we did, okay, I can't take care of myself. I need someone to do everything for me because I can't do it myself. Like the tool is not helping. My choices, the people I'm matching with or that I'm dating, I'm going to a first date with, it's not helping. And also I think that's why it's this sensation of control at first is leading to to feeling a bit burnout at the end.
Yeah, and I mean, it really fits in with this whole. I mean, a lot of technology basically only exists to take control of something that first wasn't controllable. So, for instance, I mean, I also did a very different project, but on noise cancelling headphones, where like first we had no control of what we listened to, and suddenly now we can control everywhere we go when we decide to listen to something and when not. And especially in the context of dating and love, this becomes very interesting because on the one hand, sure, you need this sort of base feeling of being that this person is somewhat alike, so you feel trusting and you feel like they are open to you. But then you need some like randomness or something to surprise you, otherwise you don't feel that spark. Like everyone's always looking for, oh no, I don't think I feel the spark, but I could be really good friends with you. But that means like you're very much compatible, but just not like, I feel like the spark comes also specifically from this person. Is like a whole different person, and they do these random things that they think is more important, and they think maybe this is beautiful or interesting.
Yeah, I think also with the control part also comes a burden, because I think it also makes people like individually responsible suddenly, even though that's also not.
That's quite heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wonder, in the news now sometimes they say that that people are using dating apps less and less, and maybe that aligns also with what you're saying about that we have reached this new phase where we are having some doubts or second thoughts about these dating apps. Maybe looking forward, maybe the question to all of you, like what do you think would be, maybe two questions. What can dating apps improve in order to make the dating app experience better for users? And secondly, maybe what can we do outside of dating apps to enforce a new kind of dating culture where dating apps are maybe a little less central than they were the last 10 years?
Who goes first?
Thank you. Definitely, as you already said it also, Judith, before in your talk, we need to enforce the laws that we have. We have some instruments there already. We just need them to be applied correctly, to have audits. Well, you know more of this than me. And this is part of what we're doing on the NGO. Specifically, we want people to know that they have rights over their data and that they can know what is being done with their data, how their data is used. So I think I would say companies should be more transparent, accountable. Sometimes they give transparency, but it's not accountable, so it doesn't. So we need these. Sometimes we don't need so complex algorithms. I think we're betting too much now on Gen AI for dating apps. I don't know. If we want Gen AI to maybe improve the messages, automate the messages between users, well, better we just slow down the dating speed we have now. We better slow down the fact that the swipe creates a reactivity, that it goes so fast that we don't even evaluate the profiles. We don't take the time anymore to see who is this person. When I meet the person, I want to take the time to know the person. So I think we definitely need to slow down the design we have created for dating people now online.
Yeah.
It can be good.
I can also.
I can also go.
I would say that, sorry, if it's okay.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, the decreasing of the dating apps, all the, I would say maybe it would be the signal of the comeback of matrimonial agency. I don't know if it's a right word, or matchmaking agency. So like taking in charge like the matching thing and also like the organization of the day. Something that you're in your bubble, you doesn't have to be taking care of anything, and you're in charge. You are taken care of. And from the single perspective, I would say I would promote therapy for everybody also. Therapy is very good. So, yeah, to me it's very, very important that we figure out who we are, what we truly want, and to me it's like basically like from my point of view it would be dating agency, like matchmaking agency that can be growing in the coming months and years. And for me, my advice is therapy for everybody.
And pitch dating.
And also real life events, but it's already booming, so it's nothing really new. It's happening right now.
Yeah, well, in Paris and these big cities, I think you have the culture where people are finding alternatives offline. Which I found great, that because when we go on dating apps, we decide to invest time and money and our attention on finding a partner. We want to find a partner for sexual encounters, any reasons. So there is an engagement from ourselves to take in hand the process, some techniques. So when we decide that, okay, now we get out of dating apps and we put this effort in another activities, I go to these events, I think it's a good way to say, well, I assume that I need to do something to find somebody elsewhere.
Okay, lots of good concluding thoughts. I need to come up with something. No. I think for me it's also hopefully that we're moving towards a world where people are more willing to experience friction for finding love. I think like it can be messy and you have to put in some work, and maybe you have to put a little bit more work in than sitting on your couch at home and scrolling through a list. With that also, looking at the future, it reminds me of a talk I had with a friend who actually he doesn't want at all, because of like privacy reasons, to go on any dating apps. But now he's like, where actually do I go? Like how like there's this such a specific spot now. Like, okay, this is where you go to find love. Then that it's becomes super weird to just talk to someone in the train. Or like, like, I mean, we can also sort of maybe be a little bit more open to just randomness and try to just meet people in our own lives, not at specific events, maybe even just at work or while you're traveling or in a public space. I mean, of course, with boundaries. With boundaries.
And consent.
But like, I think the current number, I mean, it changes all the time, but I think still more than half of like the couples are originated from online dating apps right now. And if this goes down a little bit, or I think we can expect that it goes down a little bit, then maybe it becomes more normal to also try to find love, not just at speed dating events, in dating apps, or at bars where I mean, there are people that don't go to bars or don't like this environment. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, wonderful. Thank you all so much. I'm excited to see what it will bring in the future. I hope that all of the offline and online and like experiences will improve. And yeah, maybe call out to everyone. If you have single friends who want to meet people, include them in your life, you know, introduce you to your best friend that you maybe think that they can get along with. Like these old-fashioned methods might need to have a comeback.
Maybe ask your mom if she knows someone.
Yes. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe there are questions or additions or remarks. Seems like...
Sorry, yet again. Thank you all. It was very, very inspiring. I was wondering, because nobody has touched on this today yet, but yesterday the Dating Apps Reporting Project published their findings in The Guardian and in other places. And one of the things they found is that one kind of profiling that is not happening on dating apps is profiling reported rapists. There are obvious reasons for that, because it's not good for them to address this too much, but I would still be interested in your take on this, like how, because obviously this isn't good for them either. So how do you see this, the fact that they're not profiling? I mean, they have this much data. And there are things that they could be doing for the betterment of dating. Why would they not be doing that?
I mean, I don't really have a clear answer. I don't know. I don't know if you know like how easy it is to profile and how accurate it is to profile. I guess it is because it's criminal. It's like maybe like a scary thing for developers to do, but I don't know. Really, I don't know enough about the technical aspect of how profiling works to be able to answer.
The only thing I've been witnessing is that the fact that dating apps are not reactive enough to fight against that is that from what from my perspective, so many women have been creating some undercover groups to help each other to get notification or to warn the others. And to me, it's really interesting to see that the resistance is coming not from the app, but from the other attempts to help them protect themselves. So to me, it's really helpful to have this kind of resistance actually happening. And I'm also asking myself how dating apps could be involved better in that war, in a way, against this kind of things.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, what type of data would you be profiling on? Is it like reports from users, or is it like... Okay.
Sorry, yes, indeed. If people have reported a person already, like in the Guardian, there was this story about a guy who had been reported dozens of times already, still continued raping people on dates that he found through the apps. I mean, just a report would do, I guess, certainly if there's more than one.
I don't know this specific story, but I guess it's the same as within all other areas of life, like within TV broadcasting institutions and within universities, where similar things happen. People also know about criminal acts or sexual harassment or rape, and people don't act. I assume it will be similar reasons, like either people, I don't know, but I expect also, because I did research on period apps, and here it was very clearly the case, and I expect dating apps not to be different, that their boards and people working there are majority men. I don't know if this is also the case with dating apps, so that there might not be a recognition of the severity of the thing. I mean, maybe like in all our other parts of life where we see this as well, I think, unfortunately.
What did you wanted to say something?
Well, yeah, I think one thing to think about is that it's like a very societal wide question is who is responsible for acting on this? Like, is a dating app, do they have the responsibility to take away rights, or is that more the responsibility of like the law and these type of I don't know, institutions like that? Is it the same case with universities? Is it their responsibility to remove people that have maybe weird ideas, or maybe even, I don't know, like, these are in the end sort of companies as well. And I think if you do a crime, maybe you should also more be punished by someone that is adjudged and not like, that part. I don't know.
I wanted to add something on the responsibility. Who has the responsibility? What is happening today in this economy is that these apps are tech companies that define themselves often as intermediary services. And this means that they don't take the legal status of for example, of a dating company. They don't take, for Uber, they don't take the status of a transportation company. And when they say, we're just a technology, we're just an intermediary, we're a neutral service, they are saying the responsible are the parties that are on the other side of the service that I'm providing. So it's the users and the other users. It's delegating the responsibility to the users of the service, like Uber is delegating the responsibility to the Uber drivers, who are independent contractors. So basically, I think this is what is happening on dating apps or on social media. You have contracted a service of matching service or a social media service, now you're responsible of what you do there. It happens also with, it's the same battle with Meta. Who gets to publish what? And they have this pitch of, well, it's free speech, so we leave everyone put whatever they want. Otherwise, we wouldn't be allowing free speech. But we know that it's not possible. If we don't moderate the content, if we don't verify the identity of these people, then it's an arena where everything can happen, the best and the worst. So I believe it is unclear legal status, a delegation of responsibility to others and not to them, and this is what creates this problem that after they cannot intervene more, or they cannot take in account it as responsible for this happening there.
My question is about games. I would like to return to the conversation about the paid aspects of these services. So, if I'm playing Mario and I get an extra life, the game tells me what that means. I know how that will benefit me. With these paid services, with the extra likes and things, so often the feedback is either non-existent from the app or is farcical in what it actually tells you. And this so this question touches on both algorithmic transparency and game design. But if you're buying these power-ups with no feedback, is there precedent in game literature for the role that means that the app has? If you're able to accumulate things to help you in the game, but you don't actually get feedback as to how it helps you?
I think this... okay, wait, I'm thinking about it. I think it comes down to, again, like information sharing. Like sometimes I would say I would compare it to this idea of using randomness in a game. So if we're taking really the game theory in here, you have two types of randomness that you can use as a designer. You have input randomness and output randomness, where input randomness, I have to tell this correctly, but it's like input randomness is when something like randomly happened to you and you can't explain it. And output randomness is you know the risks beforehand and you make an educated use of this power-up, and then something happens and it can fail, but you knew the risks beforehand. And generally, the first one, the input randomness, gives a lot more frustration than the second one. But with all things random, you use them to create interesting situations. Otherwise, I mean, if you also look at like which profiles you get, it can be like sort of random, but you need that. Otherwise, if you get like literally the same person over and over, and you're like, oh my god, I'm literally only accessing the same person, this would be like insane, right? And I think the difficulty for dating apps specifically is that, I mean, of course you have these resources, but there is so much randomness that they are not in control of. Like, I mean, you can't control what kind of people are on the app or how they behave. This is not, like, you can guide them, but you can't control them. And in a subscription model, I mean, as a designer, I would not really look at if, like, my main point would not be if it's useful for the players, but if they're willing to pay for it. So if people are willing to pay for 5 lives extra, I'm making something up, but then it doesn't really matter if I don't define it well, if we already see that people want to pay for it. Yeah. I don't know if this answers your question, but yeah.
Okay, no more questions? One more question.
Hi, thank you very much for the panel. It's super interesting. There was something I was thinking about while you were speaking, because I remembered your talk, Judith, at the beginning about authenticity and this somehow this involvement of AI in the whole thing, and people actually, because I think one thing that I do when I use like something like ChatGPT to just make a text more round or more non-my language is that I'm somehow trying to get an advance on something with that. And how do you think this kind of filters into the idea of dating? So in the sense that, you know, the Cyrano de Bergerac kind of problem, when you're getting you're using like romantic language that's not actually yours, and you're suddenly getting into this kind of twist of when are you going to reveal that you don't actually know how to write like that or speak like that?
Actually, I started in the dating field by being a ghostwriter on dating apps. Is that I've been paid by an agency to talk and seduce men and women on their behalf, on the behalf of their clients, on dating apps. That's how I started. So to me, it's definitely Cyrano de Bergerac-like. It was like embodying someone's personality, his values or her values or whatever, and the portrait, so seducing on their behalf. And to me, it's quite sure that I did that for a couple of years, and it was very interesting. But at the same time, I'm realizing now that it could be, and it's already can be taken care of by AI actually. And that's what the CEO of Bumble was saying. So maybe in a couple of years, you will have your AI concierge seducing the other person's AI concierge, and it will look like it. So to me, that's all I can say about it right now. But it happened already when I was doing that a couple of years ago, like seducing on the behalf of someone else on dating apps.
I think it also, what I find interesting about it is I think it, whether it's good or bad or successful or unsuccessful, really I think depends on what we want to get out of it. So I think if people don't want like this organic, serpentinous romantic love, but they want to go on the other route of having more control over how they feel maybe or what they are seeing, then I think this, I would say, very inauthentic way of interacting with other people can feel as something good because it's like predictable and it's exactly like buying something in a store and you can just improve the product by applying this on how the communication looks like. But I think if I look at it from my perspective, it is very far removed of any authentic interaction between persons at all. And I think it would, at least for what I would see as a meaningful relationship, it would be an even bigger barrier of creating one. But if people want to go on this route where they just want to have control over how they feel and how they are perceived, then these artificial methods, I think, are great because basically they're just buying kind of an experience. But I don't think it has much to do with a relationship or anything that has a reciprocity in them. So, I don't know.
I think with AI specifically, it also really, really depends on how you use it and with what goal. I mean, if you are just using it because you think your time is not well spent trying to craft messages and you just automate this because you don't want to, you think it's more efficient to find someone that way, I mean, then it becomes, of course, very inauthentic. But if you use it in a way where you're like, oh my God, I really want to convince this person to go on a date, and maybe I know for myself that I'm very bad at writing, and I just put my message in the AI, say, how can I improve this? Maybe give me some ideas. If it becomes like a more collaboration with an AI, then the authenticity is, I mean, still, like, I guess there's some influence of the AI having like some, I mean, from the like bias from the data it's built on, but in the end, you are still in control of what you are sending. So in the end, is it that bad then? I mean, is it much different from buying a book with interesting, I mean, this is a very bad example, but like buying a self-help book or something. Like, I mean, you're asking something for advice, but still you're deciding on what you want to send. Maybe this is the correct implementation, and maybe this also democratizes in a way the access to love. That maybe if you're dyslexic, you're always finding out that people reject you because they think you're not serious about dating, and maybe this can help, right? I think if it's a balanced approach and you weigh you weigh sort of the advantages of using it versus I think it's all about in how you use it.
Yeah, the intention is really important. Like the clients I have been working for, most of them were like, I want to work with you and I want you to do the work for me because I don't have the time or I don't understand I don't have the time. I want you. Uberization of seduction was at the peak at the time also. And for other, it was like, I just don't know how to do that. I'm so shy. I will mess it up. Please help me to figure out what are the best practices are. And it's in a way the same thing when you're saying you're using AI to craft an email and to do it good and to gain some time. It's a bit of the same thing. So intention is the same. Yeah, the right intention at the beginning is important also, of course.
Excuse me? Sorry, I would like to add something, if that's okay. I think another thing to consider with this is the role of the platforms themselves using the AI, because it's not a new problem. A few years ago, there was an article about OkCupid. They made chatbots, so without AI, but basically the same thing from the user perspective, that would flirt with people who were lonely. And then the users were very upset about this, so they made chatbots that were eternally lonely to sort of capture the other chatbot forever. And when OkCupid was busted in this, the response was, this is industry standard. I know it's bad, but it's what happens. So I think the role of the platforms themselves creating fake users is something that to consider into the future.
I think no more questions. Oh, thank you so much for coming and listening to us. And we love to talk more when we leave this area of the room.
Thank you.
Thank you.